Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. I appreciate the support, man. I'm very humbled by it. So I wanted to tell you guys a story, man. A story that happened a while back, and it happened to someone that was close to me. And when this happened, I was a little confused. Hey, I was immediately going to take a flight. I snapped right back into active gangster mode because of the person and how close we were that this happened to. Now, I have a friend. Notice I didn't say homeboy or homie or camarada or cool guy. I said a friend, right? Someone I grew up with since we were in diapers. Young kids, man, I used to spend the night at his house when we were little. Elementary school, I used to spend the night at my house. More so, I like to go to his pad because my mom was strict as fuck. She'll beat everyone in the house with a chancla. And at his house, his mom was a little bit more relaxed, and she identified a little bit more with the guys and letting us kick it like that, right? She was just good, gente, good people. Rest in peace to her. I'll forever love her for that. She was just good people. She looked out for me when I got older and got out of prison. Always gave me a place to stay. I could tell she didn't really want to, but she did. And I'll forever be in debt to her. Forever, right? But this was a good friend of mine. His whole family, we were so close growing up that we called each other primos. Everyone in the town in Merced thought we were cousins, thought we were related because of the love that we showed each other, you know, and it was his whole family with me. I mean, I had their back. I took cases. I was willing to go to prison, jail, whatever. These are like friends, like I'll lay my life on the line to this day. And they're still active gang members. They're still in the mix, you know, but none of that matters to me. All that matters to me is the bond that we shared as friends from kids to adults. Now, the same friend that I'm talking about, we were in the youth authority. Let me tell you a little story. I got there maybe about 3 or 4 months prior to him pulling up. And I'm in NRCC dorm 1. And I remember the day he walks in, right? And I'm in my cell. We had just come off lockdown. We were in lockdown most of the time I was there because we got off with the Southsiders from Bakersfield. They used to send a lot of Southerners from Bakers to NRCC for whatever reason. And immediately it was on site. You know, anytime we got action, we'd get off. So I remember Rooster from Fresno kicked it off in the day room. We got off with the Southerners. And Southerners held their own. There was like fucking 20, 30 Nortenos. Bulldogs were Northerners at the time. And there was like 5 or 6 Southsiders. Hey, they got mollywop, but they stood their ground. Got to respect them for that. It was Clover from Okie Bakers, Guadalapush from Barrio Bakers, Bird from Baker's Trece. I remember these guys, right? Pelon from Baker's Trece. Anyways, we had an incident that popped off in the gym. Right after that, they started to release Northerners back, and Southerners they separated the day room time. And I remember a homeboy coming to my cell, and he was like, hey, bro, there's a homeboy here from your city, from your town. I was like, what? I was all happy because, you know, it's Merced's smaller, so we don't have a lot of homeboys in the system. At that time, we didn't. Right now, pretty much wherever you go, every prison, there's someone from Merced representing. But back then, we didn't have a lot, especially in the youth authority. I was one of the only ones. And so I was all happy. Who is he? He says, I don't know, bro, but he's sitting in the day room. So I immediately, you know, back then, it wasn't like, oh, we got to check your paperwork. Like, hey, if you made it to that point, you were good. So I put a fucking Snickers bar. I just went to canteen. I put a couple Snickers bars, I remember, and a sopa into a cup, these green cups that they used to give us. I said, hey, shoot this to him, right? They popped the door slot. Boom. I shot it to him. It's whatever. I remember the cop was right there walking. Hey, can you hand this to old boy? He's going to give it to my homie. So I get pulled out to talk to him. And it's my friend, the homeboy that he was a Norteno that I've known forever. I was fucking happy. I was ecstatic. It's my boy. And I was like, oh, shit, what's up? So I immediately start giving him the rundown. And I was younger than him by a couple years. He was like the older homie, right? But now why I'm that guy because I've been there. And my mentality, my attitude at the time I was locked up on a murder case, I was doing life as a minor. I didn't give a fuck, right? I was going to put in some work. And he told me, yeah, I'm here for a shooting, whatever. We got out. I didn't even know. I didn't know he was in juvenile hall at the same time I was, because we were kept separate. Because I had a murder case, we used to wear tan t-shirts, and they used to keep us segregated from all the rest of the regular people that were in for like shootings, stabbings, all that. That's just the way they did it, man. There was only like 3 or 4 of us that did time together. We had our own yards, whatever, because we were tan shirts. There was 2 dudes that were in there for a killing in Atwater. This black dude that was in there for killing a Crip. He was a blood, and then myself. So, anyways, I give him the rundown, whatever. We get separated. He ends up going to OH Close. I go to Nellis. We lose contact. Eventually, he does pull up to Nellis, like maybe 6 months before I transfer to Preston. And he gets to my compa. We're knocking shit out. He's handling his business. He got major hands. And then we ended up in Carl Holton together, right? And so we did time together. This was my boy. We became best friends. We became very close. So that, to the point that when I got out, he picked me up, took me to the fucking movie theater with all of the homies. And I got my first piece of pussy right there in the fucking parking lot of the Series Drive-In, watching that movie Eraser and Independence Day, the double feature. All that shit happened. True stories, right? We were very close. Well, he ends up getting involved in the dope game, right? Pretty extensive, pretty heavy. And I'm not going to give you too much intimate details, but let's just say he was the man with the master plan. And me, I was a nickel and dimer. Hey, give me a couple zips or whatever from me, a couple zips. I'll make my money enough to have a party, kick it, do all that. I was never no big baller. I knew, and I had the go-getter attitude, but that was never my thing. I was a gang member. See, to me, there was homeboys that were gang members, and they used to serve A1. They used to get off dope and all that. But then there was homeboys that just couldn't do it or didn't care to do it. And I just made enough money to survive and give me some nice clothes for the night to go party, to go trick off the money with some bitches. I didn't care about being fucking Scarface. Okay. Even though I believe the world is mine, the world wasn't mine at that time. I was just barely getting by, but he had the fucking ability to do that. He just became a baller. So eventually what happens is, I was living with his brother at the time. We had like a bachelor pad. We're all living together, me and the homies, and I'm working and everyone's selling dope, doing what they're doing. We get raided a couple times. It's all bad. The homeboy ends up getting caught up on a Fed case. Okay, he got caught with 2 bricks, whole bunch of money. The feds had been watching him for over a year. People were telling on him, whatever. He gets caught up. And I remember the day he got caught up, man, we were devastated because he was helping us with our bills. He was giving us money. He was just looking out for us. That's the homie. It's like a brother to me, right? He went from being like a primo to like a brother, even more so than some of his brothers. Like, he showed me a lot of love. And anyone from the town know who I'm talking about. And those that don't, I'm not going to say his name. But anyways, right? It was just all love. And I remember devastated, man. I almost shed a tear. I did actually shed a tear when he got locked up because I was like, damn, the homie, I'm never going to see him again. Back then you get caught with crack, dope. You go to the feds, they can fucking give you life. They can give you a long time. He ended up catching like 10 years in the feds for what he got caught with, right? And he was gone. I remember having a phone conversation with him. He's like, hey, you guys are on your own now, man. Do your thing. I got to go do my thing. Now, I was a little nervous for him because, yes, he was a striving Norteno handling his business in YA. He never denied it. He always was from the town. He always was a homie. But he wasn't like that. In real life, he got along with whoever, right? He was more on his D-boy game. Like, he was cool. He did business with whoever he did business with. I'm not going to put his business out there. But money showed no colors with him. He was always a Northenian, always worthy of the cause, but he never really pushed that line like that. That was my shit. I was the one in the politics. I was the one in the mix. I was the one north everywhere I went. It wasn't him. He was about making money, having fucking 80, 90 cars in real life, properties, restaurants, all this was his thing. Me, on the other hand, I was more about gang banging, Ben Davises and Cortezes. Show! Right? Forever forward. Guess who was broke all the time? Yeah, I'll give you one clue. Yours truly. You know what I mean? I was broke like a motherfucker, brother. On Power, I was broke, right? Adam, you just started getting money, right? Well, Gunner wasn't getting money. But the Gunner was getting his time because I was getting locked up for numerous things that people were telling on me. Anyways, so he's in the feds and I'm doing state time and I'm having baby mamas and I'm living my life, right? And let me tell you a story prior to that. Prior to him balling, I was locked up out of state and my baby's mom was doing bad. One of my first baby's mom. And one day I used to call my mother every Friday. You know what I'm saying? It was my family. I call every Friday, talk to whoever, my brother, my mom, my sisters, whoever was there at the pad. And I remember my mom was like, "Oh, I got something to tell you." I said, "Well, what?" And she was like, "Hey, your baby's mom is moving in with us. She's moving in this weekend." Now, my baby's mom, my mother lived out of state at the time. My baby's mom lived in California. Says, "What the fuck you mean she's moving in? We hadn't been together for years, right? She needs help. None of her family want to help her. She got the baby, this, and that." So, of course, I thought about my daughter, and I was like, all right, cool. She moves with my mom. That didn't last but a few weeks. And eventually she moves in with my sister. Whatever. She goes back to California after a few months. But I remember I was upset. But I used to call the pad on Fridays and she would answer because she was living there. And we used to chop it up, you know what I'm saying? And we were friends. And she was like, "Hey, guess who's balling in the town? I mean, balling." And she was like, "Your homie, your friend, right?" I was like, "Serio?" So that was my first inkling. This is prior to him going to the feds that he was balling. All right, cool. And so I ended up getting out of prison. I ended up going to California. I'm living with a tia in Beechwood, the Beechwood area, which is a little section in Merced, right? In between Merced and Atwater. And I'm living there and I'm doing my thing. And I remember I was trying to stay out the way. The homies would come by like, "Hey, come out. Hey, come out. You know what I'm saying? You coming out today? Charlie, you know what you're doing?" I said, "Fuck yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm not trying to go back to prison." And so there's a little store called El Tarab around the corner. I grew up in that area. I grew up on that street. That's my area, right? So I remember walking and there was this house that was next door to the store. And the owners of the store owned that house. But as I'm walking by to go get me a pack of Frajos cigarettes, right? I see my boy and he's sweeping the driveway. And I'm thinking, fuck, damn, it's like that now? You'd be sweeping driveways and shit? And he's like, "What's up, fool?" I'm like, "What's up?" I said, "What are you doing?" Right? I'm all happy because I hadn't seen him since YA or since like we just since I went to prison and all that. I've been doing my thing. It's been like a few years, right? I'm like, "What's happening?" He's like, "You just get out." I was like, "Yeah, I've been out a couple of weeks. What's up, fool? What are you doing over here?" He's like, "This is my pad. I own it." I said, "What? No way." And he was like, "Yeah." And then he says, "I own that pad, that pad." He starts showing all kinds of shit. I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you a lawyer or what?" Right? Having that type of money. I'm not even thinking dope dealer or nothing like that. I'm not thinking that. That's not even on my mind, right? And he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm buying a pack of Frajos." He's like, "Fuck that. If I got a carton." We used to be heavy smokers, me and him, Marble 100s. He shot me a couple packs. And he was like, "Hey, fool, remember when we got out of YA together? Because we got out like a month apart. He got out a month before me." And I said, "Yeah, I remember." And he said, "Remember when we were out there struggling, bro? No one would look out for us. No one would front us. No one would give us anything. It was just me and you, fucking 3 pairs of pants and 2 shirts that we shared." I said, "I remember." He was, "We're living in my mom's garage on Stratford Court. It's all bad." I said, "Yeah, hood shit, like for reals." He said, "Yeah, remember we were hella broke?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We ain't broke no more." And he threw me 10,000. Boom, a knot. That's the most money at that point I ever had in my life. I was happy as fuck. I said, "What? Is this counterfeit?" I was looking at it. He's like, "I got you." He's like, "Yeah, we ain't broke no more. Don't trip, boy." He's like, "Where you staying?" I said, "With my tia." He said, "No, hell no, you're going to move in with my brother. He's got an extra room," all that, right? He plugged me in. He's like, "Look, this is the get down." Gave me the get down because, he could trust me. We're good, very good friends since we're little. So I knew the whole get down and it was all good. Anyways, fast forward about a year later, the whole time the feds are watching him. I didn't know, right? A year later, he gets caught up. He catches the Fed case. He's in Sacramento, doing what he's doing. He sees the helicopter like the movie. What's that movie, Goodfellas, when the helicopter's following dude and they think he's all tweaked out? Well, the homie wasn't tweaked out. This was for sure, right? And they snatch him up on the freeway, catch him with 2 bricks, whole bunch of money, like 20,000 in his pocket. He gets a Fed case. Gets 10 in the feds. So he's out the way. In the meantime, I'm going in and out of prison, out of state, California. Like I'm just doing my thing. Time moves on, right? And so while he's in prison, I'm hearing a lot of different stories, right? And he ends up going to a prison where at this time is when the federal faction of the organization and the state faction were split, okay? And so there was a lot of turmoil between the state Norteños and organization and the Fed Norteños and organization. There was a big split. And I remember talking to homeboys about it. Now, at this time, I'm not active anymore. I'm not in the mix. And so I'm talking to little homies or homeboys that know what's up. And they're like, it's fucked up because right now, if you're doing time in the state, you gotta be, loyal to this faction. Homes, it just is what it is if you're going to survive. But if you end up going from there to the Fed, catching a Fed case, if you were loyal to them, it could be your ass. So at that time, man, it was very dangerous to be a Norteño, a striving young Norteño, because you didn't know who to be loyal to. Like you had to play both sides, man. You were stuck in the middle. It was unfortunate because there was an inner conflict with the organization that mattered. All the foot soldiers, all the soldados, all the norteños were caught up in the middle. It was a dangerous time. This is just a few years back, right? Eventually it worked itself out, allegedly. It's still, there's still a little tension, but it's worked itself out. And so my boy, because he was in the feds, having never did state time, automatically he became loyal to what was going on in the feds. He was sent to a prison where there was a lot of norteños, and even the Bulldogs were there functioning with the norteños in that particular prison. I think it was Allenwood. He was sent out somewhere way out there to the East Coast, right? And I seen pictures of him. People sent me pictures. I said, "That's my boy," whatever, right? I was all happy. And eventually he got out. He got out. But I noticed in a lot of the pictures, he was always around a few certain individuals that were somebodies. Okay. They were major in the game. And so I questioned, one time I got to question a family member of his, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Saying, what's he doing? Remember, again, I said he was never like in the politics like that. He was never in the mix. But again, he had never been to prison. In prison, sometimes whatever's placed on your plate, you eat it. You know, whatever, whoever you're hanging around with or you're celled up with or whatever, it's, you kind of fall in line, fall in accordance, right, to what's going on. So the homie tells me, yeah, he's with the program, homie. Like he became a big homie. I'm like, no way. They're like, yeah, he's with the Fed shit. And I was just like, I never seen it in him. Like I seen the mindset of a baller. I seen the mindset of someone, a go-getter, very quiet, very humble, smooth, didn't speak a lot. I seen all that, right? Knew all that since we're little. That's just his attitude, the way he was. Like he had the DNA and the makeup to do all that, to be a leader and not a follower. But again, I never seen him really caring that much about that. Okay, but eventually, you know, whatever twists and turns happen in federal prison, that's what happened with them. And so he ends up doing that. And so I'm telling him, like, yeah, good for him. You know, I mean, if that's what he wants to take, here's how I am. I don't believe in the ideology of gangs because I lived it. I don't believe in promoting gang violence and gangs because I lived it. See, I dealt with it the way I dealt with it, and I'm of understanding. But I'm never going to turn anyone off. See, I'm not like those channels on YouTube that are here to try to help the kids from getting away, meaning they're just trying to get a paycheck, right? Off utilizing the kids. I'm never going to do that or say that. I'm never going to speak or spread poison. You should know by now, as a grown adult or a youngster that's watching this, gang banging isn't cool. It ain't good. It's bad. It's evil. Nothing but dangerous situations and treachery and disloyalty comes from it. But again, that's for you to figure out. My life is not your life. Your life is not my life. It might be all fucking crimson and clover and SOS gravy for you. But for me, it wasn't. You know, I believed wholeheartedly in violence. You know, one of my favorite sayings that I still utilize to this day was, "To kill is a cruel necessity. But if one does not kill, how can one conquer? And if one does not conquer, what future is there for our people?" So I was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice at some point in my career. Eventually, I grew up and grew out of the shit. And I get so much hatred, more hatred than I've ever got in my life. I get called dropout, DO, punk, snitch, rat, bitch, piece of shit, garbage, basura, all these different things, when all I'm trying to do is be a father. You know, I gave up being a soldado in a gang that showed me no love to being a father that shows me all the love. Guess what? I'm going to choose every fucking time. My only regret in life is I didn't choose it earlier because I wasted time. Okay. It tainted the relationship I have with my oldest daughter because I was too busy being selfish and thinking about gang banging and being in the mix with the homies. And now those same homies don't give a fuck about me. That's my life. I'm not saying it's going to be like that for you, but me. Anyways, I'm not trying to make this about myself. I'm just giving you some guard knowledge you can't get in college. Now, a homeboy gets out of the feds, and I remember seeing a post his old lady put up, right? And me and his old lady were good friends. I mean, I know his family. We're like family, right? And so I see the post. She did a cryptic message, and only those that would know that he was getting out. And all she had to do was post a cryptic message on there, and I know he's out or he's coming home immediately, right? And I remember she showed his car, and she was like, "Get ready." Like, and I knew that vehicle right there was like his old school, like, "Oh, he's back." She said, "Get ready. Guess who's coming back?" Bam. Gets out. And it's just about the time I start this YouTube shit. And prior to me starting this YouTube shit, I was not in good standings, but I had got a hold of him. We got in a hold of, each other. He got out. I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're out, bro. What's up? He's like, where you at? I'm out of state. I live in Washington. This is what I'm doing. He's like, that's what's up, bro. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just stay out the way. You know what I'm saying? I didn't ask him about his status. It was none of my business. I didn't ask him what he did in prison, just that he was safe and he was home and he was doing good. And that's all that fucking mattered to me. He was with his children, right? And that's all that should matter when it's a friend. See, I'm not on that homeboy shenanigans. Hey, want to go drink a pisto? Hey, fuck, you want fucking some dope? No, none of that. You good, bro? Do you need anything? He's like, do you need anything? Shit, which is the question. That usually what he told me. Him getting out of prison probably had more money than me, right? And I was like, no, I'm working. I'm doing fine. My kids were good, right? All right, cool. It's about a year after I start this YouTube shit. And I get a call. It's the middle of the night. And one of the homeboys from Merced gets at me and he's like, hey, bro, did you hear what happened to your boy? I said, no, what happened? He said, they shot him in the head. I lost it right there. I fell down to motherfucking knees. Like, what? Couldn't believe it. This is my best friend, right? What? Oh, hell no. Right? I'm pissed. I'm like, who did it? They explained to me what they think they know, but no one knows, right? Ultimately, those that need to know do, and those that don't will never. And so I'm like, fuck, right? I'm on my way. I went back motivated, active motive. They're like, nah, you can't do that, bro. You already know it's all bad. If you come, motherfuckers are going to trip on that petty shit, right? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. That's family. Shit, that's family for reals, right? They say, just hold off, man. It's not that serious. You ain't going to do nothing anyways, poop butt. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm just going to go over there and, but he was living. He was alive. He was alive still. And so, he was in ICU. Everyone was wondering what was going to happen. I remember getting a hold of him. And he woke up. He came up out of it, and he had got shot in the head. Now, what had happened was, and subsequently, the guy who shot him has been locked up. He already got arrested for it. It is what it is, right? So I'm not fucking snitching on no one or doing no weird shit like that. But being that my boy hooked up with the federal situation in the feds, he was with the organization in there. He became a member of that. It was known when he got out. And remember, there was beef between state and feds, and it extended beyond the walls, which trips me out because, like, this end of hostilities with North and South is cool inside prison, but it doesn't extend beyond the walls. So North and South in Northern California still go at it like it was yesterday, right? They're still beefing. There's still SKs, NKs, all that, right? Everybody case. But this beef between state and feds extended beyond the walls. And because my boy had just got out the feds, someone from the state regiment decided that he had to go, and they pulled up on him. And when he went to shake their hand, they shot him in the head, thinking they were going to earn brownie points. And this is what it was. Now, shit was happening like this in Salas. There was actually a dude that got out and was supposed to implement and do whatever he was going to do in Salas. And him and his wife were murdered because he was part of the state faction. Shit was going down back then, man. It was a cold era to be a Norteno, and my boy got shot in the head just because he was loyal to the only people he knew. If he would have went to the state, he would have been loyal to that. I wanted to tell that story to let people know when you're part of a group or a gang at a high level and you're politicking, sometimes it's out of your control. You could be a solid homeboy, never fucked up, no bad cases, none of that. And politics trump everything. You just get caught up in it. That's what happened to my boy, man. Luckily, he was able to come up out of that, and he's doing well with his family. And that's just that, man. But, I want to send a shout out because I was thinking about him the other day. We haven't chopped it up in a minute. And, I've been trying to keep my distance from them, being that I'm Gunner from YouTube. People get hate, man. I got family members that get a hold of me like, damn, motherfuckers be hating on you, bro. I'm like, yeah, I know. Anyways, just a story to tell. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. Now, I will say this. The person that end up ultimately getting locked up for and shooting it was a good-ass homie that we both fucked with. It's crazy how that works out, huh? The gun.